I was a sales manager in our Eastern Europe team, responsible for expanding our market share across the full range of our product lines. I and one of our sales executives, Gail Channing, were on a business trip to Moldavia where we had a series of meetings lined up with a series of customers and government officials, and also we were presenting at a big industry conference the next day.
We by now had this sales presentation down to an almost perfect pitch, Colin and me. He would do the big picture, senior thing, you know, global trends, indications for governments, and then I would pitch in with the detail, facts and figures, the latest research. One really important part of this presentation was that we used an audience polling system, audience voting handsets. And periodically we would get feedback from people, ask their opinions, get them to answer questions with really unexpected answers. And it had become a really well-received part of what we did. And I had the equipment with me. I always carried it as a hand baggage because it was a really expensive kit.
So we arrived in Moldavia, Krestenberg I think it was, and Gail had this voting system with her. It was quite late, gone 11, but it became immediately clear that we had a problem with this voting system.
They do look very suspicious, these handsets. If you don't know what a voting system is, and you've never seen one before, then they look like some kind of electronic detonation devices or something. So I was trying to explain to the Moldavian custom officials what they were. But of course they didn't speak any English, and I don't speak Moldavian.
I realised things were starting to get a bit nasty when one of the guards had been called over, who seemed a bit more senior and a bit more aggressive, and said to me in this quite aggressive tone, "This big problem for you. Not big problem for me, big problem for you." And physically jabbed me in the chest. I realised that we were in a bit of trouble. We had no interpreter. The only person who had been sent to meet us, so far as I know, was a hired car service. The contact numbers that we had were for our office in Krestenberg, and that of course was now shut. And all we were getting back from the UK was voicemail handoffs.
But your call is important to us.
And it was at this point that they said that they wanted to search us. So, I was fine with that. But then started indicating that they wanted to take Gail into a separate room to search her.
Yes, we searched.
I simply wasn't comfortable, and I started to object.
I didn't consider this situation to be particularly threatening, and I could see, or rather I felt, that Colin was at risk of making it worse than it was. So I started insisting very firmly, but calmly, that if I was going to be searched, then it would have to be a female officer.
Lady, search me, lady.
Which is eventually what happened.
In a bit of a panic by now, and I called the only person I knew to be at the airport who spoke Moldavia, who was the driver. And his English wasn't very good, but he did have some English. So he came in and they all jabbered away to each other for a few minutes, and I kept trying to find out from the driver what they were talking about. But he kept saying, okay, no problem, And then a guy came over who we hadn't seen before, who seemed to have even bigger epaulets and a bigger hat than the others. So he was obviously some kind of boss man, and the driver started talking with him, again, very animated. And then the driver comes over to me and Gail and says, "Do you want me to fix this for you?"
So I was like, well, of course we want you to fix it, Why wouldn't you fix it? We were stuck in the airport. It was gone 1 a.m. by this time. We had discussed just leaving the equipment with them, but this was about $5,000 worth of kit that belonged to the company. So I was reluctant to do that.
I said to him, "Are you going to pay the money? I don't want you to pay the money." Then he got quite agitated and he raised his voice and again said, "My family wait long time for me at home. You want salt or not? Last time." I just told him, "Look, yes, I want you to sort it out, but don't do anything illegal." He just laughed and said, no problem. I went up to the chap with the big hat, the captain, and they disappeared behind a corner. I mean, literally. They were gone in less than 5 seconds, it seemed to me. Then they came back, and I saw them gesturing to the other officers, and suddenly it was all smiles all around, and "Welcome to Moldavia," and we were free to go.
I literally had not appreciated or understood what was happening. It had been a really unpleasant experience. I just wanted to get to the hotel, have a shower, pour myself a stiff brandy, get to sleep. We arrived at the hotel. It was morning by this time, dog-tired. I got out of the car. Then again, I heard the driver's voice raised inside the cab, and I thought, oh, God, what is it now?
So we pulled in, and I said, how much? And he rummaged around, got a receipt, and wrote on it, and handed it to me. And I could see it was for 5,000 Moldavian rubles, which is about $150. About $100 more than what I'd been expecting. 3 times the price. So it's late, Gail's waiting, and I said to him, why so much? And he just says, cash, no problem, no problem.